What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Quadcast, the show where we get real, get raw, and get loud about mental health, substance use, and the fight to take our lives back.
Each episode, we're cutting through the stigma, dropping knowledge, sharing stories, and bringing the heat with guests who have lived it and aren't afraid to talk about it.
So turn it up, lock in, and let's break barriers, spark change, and build a community that refuses to stay silent. You're tuned into the Quadcast, and let's get into it.
You can find us on Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, or email us. The Quadcast is always looking for new guests, whether you're individuals that have experienced it, you're in law enforcement, treatment programs, nurses, doctors, or anyone that just has something to say. Come share your story with us on mental health or substance abuse.
Warning, there's cussing in this video. If you don't like swear words, well, you're
watching the wrong damn show.
Let's see here. Timmy, can you think of a time in your career, let's just go off your career, that you realized that you needed to prioritize your mental health?
Yeah, many. Because, you experience things on a traumatic level, and then and this comes with age too, you do your best to suppress it. You do your best to bottle it up and not think about it as much, hide it. And then you forget about it for a minute, and then the next thing happens. And now you're dealing with both of those things, and then you suppress both of those things, and then you hide it, and then it gets better. And then the third thing happens, and then now you're dealing with three things. So, for me, I've had those experiences for many, many, many years. And there was one incident in particular that involved a child. It was a child death. And it was an accident. Nobody meant to do any harm for that child. And when you're in law enforcement mode, you're not necessarily, those things are not necessarily impacting you in real time. But it was a wreck, and we were on the side of the interstate, and they were doing CPR on this child. And two EMS personnel look at me and they say, "Can you carry this child to the ambulance?" I say, "Yeah." So I picked this 4-year-old child up, younger than my own, and I'm carrying him to the back of the ambulance, and he's just empty. He's dead. And I set him down on the gurney, and I look down, and I've got blood all over me. And in that moment, right there, was the first moment in my career where I knew, but if you don't deal with this head on, it's going to be a problem. If you try to put this back and suppress it like you have in the past, I'm telling you, it's gonna end you. And I had to meet it head on, man. I had to meet it head on. I had to let it hurt, and I let it hurt, and I let it hurt, and I let it hurt, and it got better. And I'm grateful for that experience and that waking event. And every time something like that has happened since then, I've let it hurt, and I let it hurt, and I've cried many, many, many tears over children getting hurt. And that's the one thing for me that just is inexcusable, and you just can't process it. You shouldn't be able to process. And I've seen children murdered and death by accident, and those ones, those are the worst. But just letting it hurt, man. Let it hurt organically. Don't try to let it hurt and deal with it with substance. Let it hurt organically. And I found that was kind of helpful to me. I can't promote that up to everybody, obviously, but for me, that has helped me, and that has also developed me as a man, and made me more compassionate for humanity by letting those feelings take control of me. I've found that to be very helpful.
And you say you said you wouldn't promote that to everybody, and I totally obviously get that, but I can second that, because it's crazy to me that I'm not going to say solution, but advancement of a problem is more pain.
Yeah.
And truthfully, that's the only way that I've ever gotten to a better point with something, is to literally just let it hurt and hurt. And I've not heard anybody else touch on that at this point until now. And like I said, it's crazy to me that the advancement of something is required to be more pain. And so, all right, let's see here.
You know, another thing about it too, and for me personally, you know, I've tried to perceive a lot of things deeper than the actual what I'm witnessing. You know, I'm seeing a dead body, but I'm trying to perceive or think about their thoughts in the final moments. I'm trying to, like, what were they thinking? Were they scared? You know, were they comfortable? I'm thinking about those things. And, you know, I've told people that before, and they're like, man, we don't think about that. And I'm like, man, I got to, because what this does for me is it humbles me. It humbles me and grounds me. And like I said, it's made me a far more compassionate person by thinking that. And if it's caused more mental issues for me, it's almost an equal trade-off to be a more compassionate individual, because I could not imagine being any other way than what I am now.
And I think that's something that, you know, honestly, if you sit back and look at the world today, is we're seeing a huge lack of, in a lot of aspects of life, is compassion and just overall human decency. And, you know, you sit back and you see all these TikToks and social media posts bashing cops. And obviously that infuriates me to no end, but that's not the point. But, you know, the lack of compassion in the country today that has been driven by political drama is, I think we're seeing it at an all-time high compared to what we've ever seen it before. And I would even put that at an all-time high over, let's say, the Obama administration, because you know how bad it was during the Obama administration with BLM and things like that.
Climate for law enforcement was not good at the time. I'll just put it to you that way.
No, and I mean, and the bad thing is, it's still not. It's not a perfect. It's never going to be a perfect career, but it's never going to be a good career with the political motivation that it draws.
It hasn't been the same since that. I mean, I was a police officer through that whole thing, and when I started, you know, guys were coming out of the wood, you know, guys and gals were coming out of the woodwork to be in law enforcement, and now you're lucky if you get 5 or 6 people show up, and
exactly.
That's a testament to exactly what we're talking about. Nobody wants to do this job,
absolutely,
and it's because of the perception that politicians have, you know, given law enforcement for political purposes. And let's be clear, that's what it is. I mean, you know, some of these people have no reason to talk bad about law enforcement whatsoever. They just know that their voters like that, so that it's fake. And you know, we should be promoting our first responders and making them feel good and making sure they're doing the right thing. There's nothing wrong with that, holding each other accountable. But why do we got to say things that aren't changing anything? The only thing it's changing is making it more difficult to actually be a police officer. You want good people in this job. You don't want people who who've crapped out on every other thing they've done, and then they're just going to throw their hat in the ring and see if it lands. I mean, that's what we. So yeah, man. I mean, and then you throw social media into the mix, and how easy it is to scroll through TikTok or Twitter and see a dead body or somebody getting shot by the police or a police officer getting shot by somebody else or whatever you want to see. And it's desensitized the entire populace to death and destruction. And now it doesn't carry the weight that it should. It's sad. It's sad.
It's really disheartening, honestly, because I graduated high school and I knew that I wanted to go into law enforcement. And, there may be one or two of those people out there now that come out of high school and into law enforcement that said, I've always wanted to be a police officer. But, and this, we may not be talking directly into a mental health topic at this point, but it's all mentally related.
Absolutely.
But I came out wanting to be a police officer, and it may sound cliche, but to help people.
Yeah.
But
that's why I did it.
That same statement then doesn't mean the same now, because most of the time now it has to benefit them before it benefits anybody else. And I think that being that part right there, touching on a mental health topic, is huge, because your mentality in law enforcement is everything.
Yeah, man. I mean, back then, we did the job for way less money.
Absolutely.
And now you got guys who are making twice as much as I was when I started, aren't happy with that money. And it's all about money. It's where can I go to make the most money? So, that's the same thing. I mean, you're in it for, if you come to this job for money, you're starting a career for the wrong reasons. If you're not coming into a job to give your entire self to that job and accept all the negativity that comes with it, then you need to go somewhere else and seek employment, because this is not the job for you.
And that brings up another good point. How does the negativity going on in the country and from communities play a part in how you think every day on the job, and maybe potentially second guess yourself in a crucial time of dealing with a high stress environment?
You're asking, like, in a sense, is it worth it?
No, more like, does the negativity that we see on a daily basis towards law enforcement affect your mental health in a way of, is it worth it? Should I do what I'm trained to do, or should I handle it in a different manner? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it has to. It has to. You have to approach every situation differently and apply your human self to the situation. There are rules and laws and things of that nature that sometimes you have to abide by, but sometimes you can find the gray area and just be a human. And you cannot let the negativity on the outside affect what's going on in here, because if you do, man, like, you're not going to be a service to the community. You have to approach every situation differently. Every time you go to a call, you're starting at zero. No matter how aggravated you are that day, for whatever reason, man, like when you show up to that person's house, you are starting at zero. And you give that person the best you can. And hopefully they appreciate you for it. If they don't, you walk away knowing that you did everything you could, both on a legal and a personal level. And go through life that way. That's about the only thing you can do.
In your career path, have you ever recognized when you were reaching the point of burnout or overload?
Oh, absolutely, man. Almost weekly. I come to the conclusion every week, and me and a buddy of mine joke about it. We're like, man, if we were good at anything else, we would stop doing this in a heartbeat. We joke about that every week. We just say it randomly with each other at the office. If we knew how to do anything else, we would do it. And both of us know that we don't mean that, but some people might. But burnout, yeah, it's a real thing, man. And that one thing right there, burnout, will change the police officer. But again, man, you have to be able to put it to the side. When that person walks up into your office or you go to their house, they called you there for advice. They called you there for help. And you have to recognize that. And you have to not be selfish. Put yourself to the side and try to give them the best you got. And then deal with it when you leave. And it's the same thing. We do our best to try to understand people. It's not fair to expect a random person calling 911 to understand, have this preconceived thought that he's having a bad day, because they don't. All they care about is, what can this police officer do to help me in this situation? And that's what it is. They're not thinking about what you might have been dealing with before or what you got waiting on you after. They're calling you because they need help.
That's the truth. And that's what a lot of people don't understand about law enforcement, I think, is you could have just came off the worst call of your career and have to go and deal with let's just say, an intoxicated married couple bickering over somebody slammed the door wrong. And you're expected to put that whole process behind you that you just left from to go deal with that and not resent those two people from taking you from the worst moment of your life to possibly the dumbest.
Yeah.
And then have to go home with it and process one dumb thing and then one serious thing.
Yeah.
And then show back up to work the next day.
Do it all over again.
And probably just in the reverse sequence of what that happened.
Exactly.
And I think that's, man, if everybody could go through the police academy and just get their dose of reality, I think, and get hit with a couple of sim rounds, I think we'd solve a lot of issues.
Probably.
Let's see here. I had a question now. I can't find it. So when you got, say, one of your guys are on shift, and what is your guys's protocol for dealing with a mental health situation in somewhere that you're called to?
Like if someone else is having a crisis?
Yeah. Somebody that you're called for that is experiencing a mental health episode.
I mean, it just depends on the severity of it. If someone is to the point where they are actively trying to harm themselves, we'll call EMS and try to get that person transported to a facility so they could be evaluated. And then you have the mental health route or the mental hygiene route for us as law enforcement officers. But the laws do not make it easy for us to intervene with mental health. They just do not. It's very difficult on a procedure level to give someone the help that they so desperately need, whether they know it or not. It's just hard for us to do it. I know in some states, somebody says something like that, a police officer can just take them to the hospital.
Right.
It's not like that here.
So obviously times haven't changed since I was in the world of doing mental hygienes, but obviously you guys are still finding that your hands are tied in that realm.
Yeah, a lot of times, man. Just the mental hygiene process. A family member comes in, files that mental hygiene warrant, and then we have to go pick up that individual, and then we take him to the mental hygiene hearing, and then all of the facts get talked about in the hearing, and then maybe they get released, and then we have to take them back home, knowing what may happen. We have no choice, and then the fact maybe they are involuntarily committed, and then we transport them to a mental health facility wherever the mental hygiene commissioner finds for us to take them. But it's very time consuming, and if you get a mental hygiene warrant at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're probably going to be dealing with that for most of the day. That's going to be your whole day as a law enforcement officer.
And it's crazy that is the way it is, because, in the time of a crisis, everybody always screams, mental health matters. But at what point do the medical side and, government politics, whatever you want to label it as, at what point do we actually consider mental health to be important? Like, I've never been able to understand it. And this comes from years of thinking, but at what point do we actually say that mental health matters?
I'll be honest with you. I don't think it does matter much in DC, to be honest with you. Because like I said before, I think you got people that live high on the hog. They don't necessarily, maybe they haven't lived in the trenches. Maybe they don't have these things going on in their life. It's just something that goes on the back burner. And then maybe you have one political side that doesn't want to say, well, these are mental health issues, because they're afraid that it's going to offend their voters. And then, let's use gun control as a fine example of what I'm talking about.
I love it.
You have crazy people, insane individuals going into elementary schools and shooting children. And then for weeks, you have politicians talking about, or you got the Democrats talking about, oh, we need to take guns. And then you got Republicans, God bless the NRA and thank God for the 2A. When are these two sides going to come together and say what really needs to be said, and that we need to do better as a society and as a nation to try to delve into mental health, to create sort of a, some sort of policy that, finds these people and weeds them out so that they can't go buy a gun because of the gun laws that already exist. The gun laws that already exist would make it difficult for people to get a firearm if we had better policies in place to get these people evaluated. It's very simple. It's a very simple concept. We have laws, but the steps are not being taken to make those laws useful. A person committed to a mental health facility cannot go buy a firearm from a gun store. They can't.
Right. But it's too hard to get somebody mental hygiene to get them through the process, to even get them committed and to get that record started. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day on this same topic of, what could we do to our firearm policies instead of, let's just say, I don't know, like the Democrats say, take them all away, because that'll never happen. But a lot of these individuals that are committing these heinous acts are honestly too young to even be in a mental institution.
Yeah.
So at what point do we find changes, or what point do we actually just say, hey, we have a mental health crisis in this country and something's got to change?
I don't know.
And this goes with substances too, because substance and mental health are hand in hand. And that's even medically prescribed substances, and I'm not even, I almost went down a rabbit hole. I'm glad I stopped myself because I don't need that backlash. But just all these chemical altering, body altering drugs out there in today's time doing what I think what I think I'm trying to point at here. At what point do we say that this can't happen anymore? Like, banning guns will never happen.
No.
That's a fact, because obviously making drugs illegal didn't change the fact. So
Almost like we never learned our lesson.
Well, some of my fans over on the mugshot page would disagree with you.
You got these things that are going on to touch what you're saying that we're not actually going to say.
Yeah.
And all of these things, policies and rule changes that are doing unknown things to people. And the reason that this is important that it's doing negative things is because it hasn't been done long enough to actually collect enough scientific data to show that.
Right.
But it's coming. And then we're going to be sitting here like, oh, no. And do nothing about it.
And that's just the thing. We put all these drugs out there without any actual numbers and actual results. We just put them out there, and then however many people take them, and then we form our results, and then we take them off the market. That's not how it should be. You have monkeys. Can we not test that stuff on monkeys?
Well, dude, think about
but it's a monkey. You can't test on animals and compare that to the human brain.
Well, if you look, we live in Appalachia. You know firsthand what OxyContin did to these communities.
Absolutely.
And that we all, not all of us, because some of us are too young to even really be affected by it. Maybe we weren't taking it, but we were being affected by it in other ways.
Right.
These doctors going off the good faith of the company developing the drug saying, oh, these aren't addictive. And then, then people are doing things. There's proof of addiction, and then it's a pseudo addiction, which is an unreal explanation to me. And then people are growing dependent of OxyContin. And the only thing the company's doing is just making stronger OxyContin.
Right.
Because you're doing it. And then the doctors are like, wait a minute, this stuff is addictive. And then they just pull the patient off OxyContin, not necessarily, maybe not necessarily understanding the composition of the drug and what it's going to do to that person when they don't have it, because they personally have never taken it, and just how crazy strong the drug is. And then that person has to rely on a street OxyContin. And at the time when I started law enforcement, an OxyContin 80 milligram pill was $80.
Right.
It was $80 for one pill. That's absurd to me. And people were buying them. Lots of them.
Oh,
And they would still lie, cheat, do whatever they had to do to get that pill, that one pill, and then they do it all again the next day, several times a day. And I watched that one pill destroy my hometown. Destroy it.
Exactly. And fentanyl is doing the same thing.
But it's all in a progressive manner. You have one pill that works, and then it stops having its efficacy, and then you've got more potent versions of it, like an 80 milligram, and then that doesn't work anymore. So, all right, what's next? Heroin. Now we're doing heroin. And then for years and years and years, people were doing heroin. Well, now we got fentanyl, and we're mixing fentanyl, which is an absolute weapon of mass destruction. call it what it is. It's a weapon of mass destruction. And people are putting
Absolutely.
that in heroin. Then heroin is already killing people, and now we're putting fentanyl in it. And people
To make
are
it stronger.
dying by the hordes. And then people, the only thing the addict says is like, hey, where did that person get that drugs? I want to go get some of that. It's actually like hey, this person died off of this. I need to find out who's selling it so I can get some of that. That's
And this
terrible.
is a good point to switch over to kind of a substance topic. But so in the sheriff's department down there, what are you guys finding is a good deterrent, not enough of a deterrent for dealers and users? Like, do you guys have needle exchanges down there? Do you guys have Narcan distribution? Like, what do you guys have going on down there in that realm of things?
I'm not sure about needle exchanges. I know that Narcan's readily available at some local places here. I don't know those right off, but if there's anybody watching this that needs to know, they can just contact the sheriff's office, and I'll make sure they get some. But not to throw anybody under the bus, but I think the health department does it. But don't quote me on that. As far as needle exchanges goes, I don't know. I don't know.
I know our health department up here was pretty pushing on the needle exchanges and the Narcan distribution for a long time. And honestly, I'm waiting to get to actually talk to somebody from our health department here on that stuff further, just to see what's out there and what's available to people. But I don't understand. I guess I personally just don't understand the promotion behind those two things, because to me it's almost enabling the problem more so than trying to deter the problem.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I could be just seeing it wrong or not thinking about it as open-minded as I should.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think that's a fair assessment. I think, again, I think that goes towards maybe not understanding it, for the longest time. And even still, somebody does a needle exchange, I'm like, what are we doing?
Right.
But at the same time, then I start thinking like, okay, well, if people are getting clean needles, then the spread of hepatitis C and possibly HIV might go down. And then because people are going to do the drugs.
Sure. Absolutely.
So then it's up to us as law enforcement officers to find out who's selling the drugs. And then the process of how difficult it is to actually get one of these people. People think you can just show up at somebody's front door and just kick their door in and take them to jail. That is not how it works. Some of these things take months and months and months to get going. So for the law enforcement angle, only thing we can do is just get rid of the dealer. And then one more pops up into place. You cut the head off a snake, 3 more grow back kind of thing. And then you have to find those people. And it's just a constant battle. The best thing that we can do is just make it as uncomfortable as we possibly can for the people selling drugs. And then we rely on the other people, the other agencies, to work it from a different angle. So if we can eliminate the drug dealer and then eliminate the need to buy the drugs, then eventually the drug dealers will pick up and go somewhere else. And that's what I'm trying to say to these department heads is, instead of just purely enabling, let's start putting together some funds and try to get these people some help to stop the problem. And then we're going to arrest the drug dealers. And that's a two-part approach. And eventually they'll move somewhere else. And then that place needs to be doing the same thing. And then eventually that person will just weed themselves out.
And judicial system wise, I think that, I know that's laughable, but in this day and time, it's almost pointless to arrest the drug dealer.
Yeah, man, it's disheartening for sure, and it's not any one person's fault. You know, I want to say that too.
Absolutely not.
It's just the way the judicial system is programmed. You know, the hearings and how they go, and the bond reductions and the home confinement and all this other stuff. All of these procedures that people have in place. It's just the way it works, man. So it's not any one person's fault.
Absolutely. And no, I wasn't trying to single anybody out.
I know. I was just trying to.
And I got into, this has been a discussion topic of mine for the last couple months. And, it truly it comes all the way down from the Capitol steps down. And what's written in the laws for West Virginia for bond amounts and, being able to let bondsmen bail people out and everything, that's all governed by the state. And, it goes back to, you have to pay attention to who you're electing into office and what they're actually for. But one thing that I've found is that just because that politician says they're for it in the campaign, when it comes down to after the election and they actually start dealing with all the other politicians, their flags change colors really fast. Mm-hmm. And they follow the money, not follow what they're for. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, and that's not with everybody, of course, but most of the time that's how it generally happens. And nobody wants change, and I don't see a change coming in the foreseeable future to the judicial system in any type of way with the laws from what they are set as now. As bad as it is. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And that's another thing too. Like, and I play devil's advocate about everything, about like the process, the judicial process, and how it's designed, and then at the same time, you have to think about it too from like, this person is innocent still. They're innocent still. And when they're convicted, after they're convicted, lock them up. But then we've got like the home confinement thing. That's a big point of contention in communities. Is like, how is this person out on home confinement?
Right.
Well, technically, they're still an innocent person. And the system has to allow them the right to go out and fight their case with their freedom, like being able to go and do those things and make those appointments and fight their case and not be locked up. Now, obviously, if the person's a risk to society and a risk to the public, they shouldn't be put on home confinement, and that's a whole other can of worms. But for the most part, that's a lot of the reason why home confinement exists, is to let people out to then be monitored and work and try to defend their case while they have their freedom, instead of being locked up. And that ability obviously is significantly decreased when you're behind bars.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Quadcast.
Remember, breaking stigma doesn't stop when the episode ends. We're building a movement, and you're a part of it. Stay strong, stay aware, and stay connected.
And this is the Quadcast, signing out.